So last time, in the last segment, we talked about personnel files, and we also discussed what needs to be separate from personnel files. Okay. Today we're gonna touch on the I-9 forms, and they should be separate, um, away from the personnel file, meaning filed separately away from this personnel file, along with the identifying documents that verify who that person or prospective employee is. Their documents that you use to identify them and verify that they have and can work in the United States of America. What is an I-9 used for? It's used for to verify the identity and employment authorization of an individual hired for employment in the United States. All U.S. employers must properly complete Form I-9 for each individual they hire for employment in the United States. I encourage all agencies, human resource department, or whoever handles the personnel files to head over to the USCIS.gov website to get yourself familiarized with the I-9, the different forms, and educate yourself on how to complete those forms. This is a snippet that I got from that website. Just it shows you forms and documents to download for your agency to use as part of your application, your hiring process. That website also shows you how to file I-9s and the retention of I-9s. There's a lot of information on that website. I highly encourage you to go on that website and get yourself familiarized with that. Where to file? Do not file Form I-9 with USCIS or U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement. Employers must, okay, it's very important, employers must have a completed Form I-9 on file for each person in their payroll who is required to complete the form. Retain and store Form I-9s for 3 years after the date of hire or for 1 year after employment is terminated, which is later, and make their forms available for inspection if requested by authorized U.S. government officials from the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Labor, or Department of Justice. And yes, you will or may be audited for these forms. So this is why I'm here. My goal is to stress that these forms must be filled out by law. And if you get audited and they are not completed, then you would have to deal with those government entities. Another thing I want to touch on is the addition. Um, the the U.S. government, they come out with different forms, and you need to make sure that you stay abreast of those forms, and because they do have um, expiration dates. You can find the addition date of the at the bottom of the page on the form instructions or at the top of the page, and we'll go a little bit more into that as well. When I am contracted to go out to audit personnel files for agencies, the common mistakes that I always see is the I-9 form is just not completed. Um, it's just there, it's empty, it's just not completed. So I headed over to wikihow.com and just inserted some pictures for you guys so that you all can see how to complete these forms. I highly encourage you to go over to that website. They have pictures and they can show you step by step how to complete those forms. So I need you guys to educate your staff, educate yourself, educate your employees on how to complete an I-9 form. Okay, so one of the biggest mistakes I do see is this. If you see in this picture, I don't see this part filled out. When I'm auditing personnel files and I-9 forms, I don't see this part of the form filled out. This part of the form has section A, B, and C, and these are just the documents that a prospective employee is going to present to the employer to prove who they are and to prove that they have the right to work in the U.S. And a lot of times I don't see list A, B, or C. I don't see that section filled out at all. It's just empty. Okay, so I want to encourage you all to make sure that you are completing these forms. As I stated before, the forms do have an expiration date. You need to make sure that every time that form expires, you're updating your application with those new forms. There's times when I have audited personnel files, the person has a hire date of 2020, and the I-9 form that they filled out expired August 31st, 2019. So if you look at the top where the red arrow is, it shows you that that form expired August 31st, 2019. But yet the application still has forms from 2010. They have forms that expired in 2009. So someone has to keep up with those updated forms. So I encourage you to go over to the website, the government website, to make sure that you pull those new forms out and you document, or when those forms are going to expire so you can update your applications. Another instance that I see when I am auditing personnel files on the I-9 form, I don't see the employee's first day of employment filled out. That's blank. So I cannot stress enough that you all have to do your due diligence and you must fill out these forms to its entirety and correctly. Okay. Um, I really encourage you to go over to the website, educate yourself, your employees, your employers, so that you all can make sure that you are following the law and completing these I-9 forms correctly. Make sure you're filing them correctly, you're holding the retention of them correctly, and you're shredding them when it's time to shred them. There's been times where I've went to um, agencies, and I've seen I-9s that have been stored in a file in agency's file room and has still been in there for 6 and 7 years. They should have been gone a long time ago. So I encourage you guys to come up with a system to make sure that you are following the law when it comes to these I-9 forms. My name is Nikki Kibble, and I'm thankful that you have joined me today. Just remember that my goal is to always, always, always make you survey ready. See you next time.